Welcome everybody. I'm the program head for the CIT program. And today we're going to be, as Yuri outlined, we're going to be talking about the 3 full-time computing diplomas available here at BCIT. So to start off, we're going to go over some of the broad sort of sector highlights to get a view of the context that the programs live in terms of the current BC economy. We'll look at the 3 diplomas themselves. And then we're going to highlight what's an interesting facet or feature of these diplomas. You can think of them really as the first 2 years of a degree program. And so we'll explore some of the laddering paths that are available after the completion of the diplomas. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A with the staff from each of the diplomas where we can address your specific questions. So, and the data tends to lag the current date by a year or so. It takes a while to collect and collate. But as of 2023, we can see that the technology industry in British Columbia was big. It directly employs in technology-specific enterprises around 220,000 British Columbians. And there is some waxing and waning, but in general, each year there's the creation of some 15,000 new positions in the area. And it represents a $22 billion contribution to BC's gross domestic product. So it's a sizable growing area of the economy here in BC. Specifically, Vancouver is the second highest rated Canadian city for its technology market in all facets. And there's a number of roles, there's a wide variety of roles within the sector that people are working with technology, whether it be in sort of new technology and the systems surrounding it. Most common or most popular to discuss right now is so-called generative AI in the form of large language models, conventional big data. These things are being used to drive both technology sector jobs and broader business decisions as well. So we're having technology professionals working in conventional or non-tech enterprises. We have a number of positions that are now employing sort of software, data analysis, operations personnel from an IT perspective that you wouldn't think of as IT or computing related, whether they be agricultural technology, clean technology, biotech, health technology. There's a number of areas where they're leveraging this technologies and skill sets to augment their core business. Within this sort of growing, diverse workplace, we're finding that BC graduates are still in demand. So BCIT is still playing a significant role in supplying and responding to the market needs in this area, both in Vancouver, within Canada, and internationally. And we're growing the endpoints for our graduates and in the technology sector is really beginning to expand beyond conventional technology enterprises. So we're seeing that there's an IT department in almost every enterprise, and it was really brought to the fore or became clear to everybody in the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, where we moved online, and all of a sudden everybody was interacting with their workplace through some sort of IT system. So we can see that it's everywhere, it's ubiquitous, it's dynamic, it's changing, and has a potential to be creative and rewarding for lots of folks that want to work there. And then BCIT is, and this is a photo of our program advisory committee made up of local, large, and small enterprises that we constantly update our programs based on their ongoing input. So we've got this broader context within this IT technology arena. we can think of positions that people will fulfill broken down into a schema related to the nature of their position. And so we're going to see that we have technology sector roles that are really centered on systems development. So the creation of systems, applications, web applications, really potentially beginning from scratch, but it's really centered around the creating of new things. It's a generative activity. Then the other broad classification of positions would be more operational. So this is using solutions that already exist, modifying and integrating systems, and keeping them running. There is overlap, but we can think of this as sort of a logical organizer for positions within the field. BCIT Computing serves both of those, and we're going to look at how these programs fit into those two general areas. And we should note that BCIT Computing in general is one of the largest computing and IT education providers in Western Canada. We're going to talk about 3 programs today in particular, but we have over 30 applied computing programs at BCIT. The credentials, including the diplomas, which we're going to discuss, and the degrees, are well recognized both in BC, in Canada, and internationally. And then our graduates tend to have high satisfaction rates and historically have had quite high employment rates within a year of graduation. So the 3 diplomas that we're here tonight to discuss are the Computer Systems Technology diploma, the Computer Information Technology diploma, and the Full Stack Web Development diploma. You should note the first 2, CST and CIT, have a January intake coming up and an application deadline in 2 days. So if you're interested in those, you should pay attention because your time is of the essence. We should note that for all 3 of these diplomas, the student demographic we're looking at is there's no requirement for prior computing. It is useful, but it's not a requirement. And we get students coming straight from high school. We have students with some post-secondary, and then we have a number of students that have a previous credential or part of a credential from another post-secondary institution. So there's quite a wide net for the programs, and there is space for all 3 of those student demographics. BCIT in general, but these computing programs in particular, are differentiated from conventional research universities in a number of ways. And one of them is that we have a very tight integration between theory and practice. There should be no point at which students in the programs ask, or at least don't get an answer to the question, when would I use this? The answer is always right now. And we often use practical examples to teach theory. So with this accelerated exit point after 2 years, there's a need to continually develop practical skill set, and we utilize that to develop the theory. So there's this tight relationship between those 2 areas, and we endeavor to use fairly current tools, if not leading edge tools, and industry practices and techniques to facilitate the learning of the theory. So there's not a real separation like has historically existed in some post-secondary institutions. All of our diplomas feature 2 years. They're all 2 years of full-time, and from the starting point with very little computing experience or none to being job ready within that time frame. They're all cohort based. So you're going to work with the same set of students, less than 25 of them, for your entire tenure within the program. So this allows students to socially support each other, to develop strong communities, and to really make friends for life. There's a number of integrated applied projects within the programs for industry clients. So outside clients are going to come to BCIT, and you're going to work on real world applications while you're in each of the 3 diplomas. There is an Indigenous entry pathway for all for our Indigenous students that we can discuss with those students in particular if they inquire, but we have, as part of our Truth and Reconciliation mandate, methods for expediting entry and supports for Indigenous students within the programs. And then, as I mentioned before, there's an array of laddering opportunities available on completion of the diplomas. So the first diploma and the longest tenure diploma at BCIT is the Computer Systems Technology Diploma. And its focus is software development and programming. That's not the limit, but that's the essential organizing principle that it's based around, is creating software developers. It has a number of features. It's based on using widely used programming languages, the language of the web, JavaScript, enterprise development using Java. There's some more data analytics and scientific computing using Python, as well as, again, another enterprise language in the form of C#, and historically closer to hardware programming in C and C++. It's got that integrated industry experience in the form of the 2 projects that we mentioned. There is a work integrated learning opportunity in the form of co-op between your 3rd and 4th term. It should be noted that this is competitive. Co-op is a highly supported process at BCIT, and there are BCIT restrictions on the number of personnel we have to assist students. So it is competitive. We cannot guarantee co-op for every single student. Within the CST program, there's this array of specialty options in the 2nd year. Now, these are also competitive, but they allow students to specialize in an area of their liking. So they're not just ranked, but they're different sorts of options. So there's an entrepreneurship option, there's a data analytics option, there's a database option, there is a gaming option. There's a whole number of options for students to pursue in their 2nd year. It should be noted that this is historically the most intensive of the computing programs and is accompanied by strong job placement rates upon completion. Typical career paths for graduates of this are tightly coupled with its really emphasis. So software developers ranging from low-level systems development to application programmers. There's Q&A positions, so software testing, and not in the sense you might think, but this is a much more automated process than it historically has been. And there's also network and database administrator. So this is where we're seeing this sort of bleed over a little bit into the operations side, although it is very development focused. So the CST program is delivered both at the Burnaby campus and at the BCIT Downtown Campus. It has both a September and January intake start dates. We're really talking about the full-time program here, but you should note the program is also available through flexible learning on a part-time basis. When that happens, the duration is extended, but it allows you to carry on with your existing job while you upgrade to that program. And this is, this deadline, whoa, here we go. This August 29th deadline, I didn't update the slide. I skipped that. It's actually October 18th, and we'll revisit that January deadline application date at the conclusion of the presentation. The entry requirements are, there's a minimum of English 12, 67% equivalent or higher, and math is pre-calculus at 67% for pre-calculus 12 or equivalent. And there is a preference, so it's a tiebreaker, but not a requirement, for a number of the secondary, BC secondary school programming 11 or 12 or computer science 11 or 12. And we are aware that those are not offered at every single secondary school. So that's why it's a preference, not a requirement. The next program is the Computer Information Technology program. So this, rather than having that development focus, has development activities, but it's really focused on operations and to a certain extent being a bit of a generalist. And it's going to incorporate the technology and practices for the full breadth of IT. So if we think of the sort of that really widespread usage of information technology, this is a program crafted to sort of address that entire breadth, whether it be support, systems and network administration, systems integration, analytics, and then sort of the combination or the usage of development methods and tools in managing operations. So this is like writing programs to manage fleets of computers or manage computing instances in the cloud, and that's DevOps. And by focusing both on operations and being a generalist, there's a much lower emphasis on programming, although it's still a core component of the IT program. The features of the CIT program are that it operates in a student-centered environment at the downtown campus, which is really focused on the next bullet point, which is a flipped delivery model. So information transfer in this program occurs asynchronously outside of class in the form of a video lecture or an interactive tutorial or a reading. And then the classes are delivered in a combined lecture lab seminar by your instructor with an emphasis on addressing learning challenges that arise in the process of your course. So the idea is that instructor time is best suited to engaging with you in a smaller level on your particular learning challenge, and then that broader sort of information transfer that media studies show is equally effective both in person or using some resource, video, interactive tutorial, reading, that time is spent doing the most, the educational activity with the highest return. And all of the classes at BCIT are delivered to small cohorts. So that's the other thing we should note here. In term 3 and 4, there are a number of projects, those industry projects we mentioned that run over the entire semester with the outside industry clients. There is again the co-op between term 3 and 4 that is like CST competitive entry. And then additionally in CIT, to address sort of the fact that there are some students that aren't ready or able to take co-op, and to address the more operational nature of some of the work that we're looking for, there is a practicum or a part-time work experience that is the equivalent of a part-time job in your 4th term that replaces one of the project courses. So there's a wide variety of work integrated learning here as well. The career paths. So typical graduate job it's a little bit difficult to narrow down because it's typical is a wide range, but it can go from anything from system and user support. So this is back end or front end support, helping users of a system, whether they be internal or external, integrating systems. So getting existing disparate systems to interact with each other. We've had students work at the Triumph particle accelerator. They don't run the accelerator. They just have those systems talk to web dashboards for the management and reporting function, for example. We have network administration with a focus on cloud in this regard. And the development operations piece, DevOps engineer, is another common outcome to help deploy systems locally or in the cloud and update them on an ongoing basis. It's delivery and entry, so it's downtown. It again, like CIT has 2 intakes in January and September, and the January deadline, and again, this wasn't updated, we've extended it to October 18th. Its entrance requirements are similar for English, in that they're English 12, 67 or equivalent, but it accepts both pre-calculus and foundations of math as an equivalent. One thing that I neglected in the previous two slides is that both these programs are competitive entry. So while these are the minimum application grades, the acceptance grades fluctuate based on the number of applicants. And lucky for anybody attending this info session, the number of applicants for January is always less than September. And the number of applicants this year is reduced from previous years. So it's slightly less competitive than it has been. So the last program, which we're going to address this evening, is another full-time 2-year diploma and is the full stack web development program. And it covers, surprisingly or not, general software development with a real emphasis on the web. And it addresses all aspects of software development for the web and the professional skills and multidisciplinary collaboration in order to make that happen. So now that all, or not all, but the overwhelming majority of enterprises have a web presence, there's a need for this type of software professional to be able to interact in a diverse number of contexts. And so this program is developed in conjunction with, was developed to collaborate with the School of Business to really facilitate that part. And the features reflect that. So it has a number of interdisciplinary projects where the full stack web developer students will work with design students in completing their project. There are a number, like there were in the other two programs, you should sense a theme here, of applied projects with outside industry clients to get those real world skill set and to learn how to interact in an actual programming setting. It addresses the broad range of web skills, including the programming, but also some of the design and components in the form of UX and UI, user experience and user interface design. It also operates in the same student-centered environment as CIT. At the downtown campus, there is a 360 tour of the technology hub, the tech hub where a bunch of the courses occur. And it also uses this flipped delivery model where information transfer, the goal at least, is to have information transfer occur asynchronously to students and then have the combined lecture lab be the place where they can interact with their instructors and address learning challenges as they occur. The career path here is a very focused program. It's to be a web developer. It's quite obvious. Its delivery and entry is downtown. Unlike the two programs we talked about prior, CIT and CST, this has the single intake, which begin in September, and the application deadline, I believe, is still April 30th or the next business day. And again, you'll sense a theme here, has an English requirement, minimum of English 12, 67% or an equivalent, and math has pre-calculus 67% or foundations of math at 73% or an equivalent. And again, like the prior two programs, this is competitive entry. So that floor, that grade point floor can increase in depending on the number of applicants to the program. Okay, we've covered the programs, but we want to remember that you can think of these not just as diplomas, but as the first 2 years of a degree. So there are a number of specialized programs that you can ladder into. The most exciting of which for us, because it's new, or relatively new this year, is the Bachelor of Science in Applied Computer Science. So it has, again, a focus on software development that builds on top of the diplomas. You can ladder directly into the BSc in Applied Computer Science from CST. There, you can ladder into it from CIT but there are a number of 4 bridging courses that we can swap all but one of them into your actual credential. So there's a necessity to take a single bridging course in flexible learning to enter directly from CIT. And full stack also has a number of bridging courses, the specific of which are being ironed out now. And there are a number of specializations in the Bachelor of Science, Applied Computer Science. At the current time, there's games development and network security applications development. And there is, I believe, a third option coming online that I will leave for a later date when I remember what it was. The other common degree that students ladder into is a digital forensics and cybersecurity degree. So corresponding to the prevalence of technology, information technology, there has been a rise in crime involving that technology. So there's a need for trained specialists to investigate undercover evidence, prevent incidents, do through systems analysis or penetration testing, legal hacking. And so this tends to be a little bit more operational focus rather than the development focus of the BSc in Applied Computer Science. Digital forensics and cybersecurity is a little bit more maintaining, managing, securing existing systems. Lots of grads here go on to be a network security manager, a systems auditor, and a lot of them work with a number of police forces at the municipal, provincial, and federal level. There are a number of additional bachelors that our programs ladder into, including there's a Bachelor of Technology and Technology Management, there's a Bachelor of Business Administration, and there's a Bachelor of Technology and Geographic Information Systems. So there's this wide array, depending on your interest, needs, and where you want to be, that you can, when you exit the diplomas, you can go to work, or you can continue your studies, or you can do both. We have many graduates that go to work and then return to finish their degree at a later date. If you came in here a little bit early, you might have missed, there's a number of testimonials, but our grads from BCIT Computing program are numerous, 25,000 and counting. Our programs have a history and a quality that makes them an integral part of the BC technology industry community. We have, within the first year of graduation, 85% of our graduates are finding a placement in related employment right away. Within that year, sorry. Our degree graduates to date are finding 100% employment within that year, because they're all equipped with a set of solid technical skills combined with that hands-on applied training, integrating that practical industry experience where they've learned to collaborate in teams. The programs are all challenging, so there's a strong work ethic is required and developed throughout the program. And being technology programs and computing programs, the reality is there's a high degree of change, and our students are adaptable and resilient as a result of both the programs and the nature of the area where they're studying. So, and I promised I would return to this. For the January intake, there is an October 18th application deadline for both CST and CIT. So that is this Friday, if I check my watch. So it's still possible for you to apply for these programs and start your studies in January.